You would never thought that 3 simple words would cause so much pain within the family. It was May 17, 1993, when my son Christopher came home after the first year at University of Louisville School of Dentistry and told my wife and I am gay. Those 3 words changed our lives forever.
The first time I remember having same-sex attractions was when I was 9 years old, when I came across pornography at a friend's house. I was confused and afraid. Without much parental input, those magazines distorted my view of sexuality and soon became my master. In addition, God had gifted me in music and with sensitivity, but Satan has twisted the perception of these gifts in that I was viewed and ridiculed for being effeminate. And so I kept my feelings hidden through high school, college, and even the Marine Corps reserves. In my early 20s, with pornography fueling my same-sex attractions, I began secretly going out to the gay clubs. And then in Louisville, I no longer kept it a secret and decided to go home and break the news to my parents. But it wasn't received well.
The timing could not have been any worse for my wife Angela and I. Our marriage was already a disaster after years of self-centered living as unbelievers. So with encouragement from both of my sons, we began the paperwork for a divorce. Christopher's declaration affirmed my belief that we should all go our separate ways. Let him be, because there's nothing I can do it. Besides, is it more important to be happy? But Angela responded quite differently.
My mom gave me an ultimatum, and she said, choose the family or choose the lifestyle. But by that time, I had already bought into the lie that homosexuality was an inseparable aspect of who I was. And so I felt I had no choice. And so I left home for Louisville. This crushed my mom, and it only added to her grief. My mom had devoted her whole life to the family and felt like there was no more reason to live. And so she decided to do the unthinkable and was planned to take her life. She was going to take a train to Louisville to say goodbye to me for the last time before she ended it all. But on that train, she met Jesus. And he told her, "You belong to me." She went to Louisville expecting to end her life. And in reality, she really did. One of her favorite passages is Galatians 2:20. I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me.
When I found out that my wife, Angela, had surrendered her life to Christ, I was not happy. I thought, great, now she has got God on her side. But what I realized was that her transformation was not a Sunday-only change, but it affected every day of the week. She spent hours each morning reading the Bible and praying. Her faith was vibrant and alive, impacting every aspect of her life. What Angela had was not religion, but an intimate relationship with our Lord Jesus Christ. The change in my wife was so contagious that within a few months, I decided to join her in the journey, and I surrendered my life also to Jesus Christ. God became the glue that kept our marriage together as one flesh by drawing us closer to himself. This was God's way of preparing us for the difficult years ahead as Christopher headed deeper and deeper into the world of homosexuality.
I spent all my free time in the gay bars, and of course, I began drinking and doing drugs. But as a dental student without much money, I supported my habit by selling drugs. I sold to friends, classmates, and even a dental professor. I thought that I could balance school and drugs, but it didn't work. 4 months before I was going to graduate with my doctorate, the dental school expelled me. And my parents flew from Chicago down to Louisville, I thought, to defend me. But what happened was my mom told the dean, it's not important that Christopher becomes a dentist. What's more important is that Christopher becomes a Christ follower. Infuriated, I moved further away from Chicago and my parents down to Atlanta. And there, I took over the drug scene in the gay clubs. I began supplying other dealers in over 11 states. It was nothing for me to have multiple anonymous sexual encounters each day. I had it all: money, fame, drugs, and sex. I had exchanged the truth of God for a lie and began to worship not the Creator, but the created. For in my world, I had become God.
Christopher wouldn't read our mails, return our phone calls, or come home. So we went to him. Angela and I flew to Atlanta, but on the second day, he kicked us out. I left Christopher with my first Bible. Not surprisingly, he refused. So I left it on his counter anyway and walked out the door. But we found out later that he took my Bible and threw it into the trash. As hopeless as things were, we committed not to focus on hopelessness, but upon the promises of God. Along with over 100 prayer warriors, we cry out for Christopher. In addition, for 7 years, my wife, Angela, fasted every Monday. And once she fasted 39 days for our son. She would literally spend hours each morning reading her Bible and interceding for Christopher. Angela wrote out her prayers, and this is one of those prayers. I will stand in the gap for Christopher. I will stand until the victory is won, until Christopher's heart changes. I will stand in the gap every day, and there I will fervently pray. And Lord, just one favor. Don't let me waver. If things get quite rough, which they may, I will never give up on that son, nor will you. Though the enemy seeks to destroy, I will not quit as I intercede, though it may take many years. I give you my fears and my tears. I trust every moment as I plead.